Hello, everyone, and welcome. I am so excited to join you all to talk about a topic that I am passionate about, and that is assistive technology. My name is Allison Andrews, and I am a neural resource facilitator and certified brain injury specialist here at the Brain Injury Alliance of Iowa. Before joining the Brain Injury Alliance, I worked at a 24-hour community-based neurobehavioral rehabilitation service site where I worked with adults living with a brain injury and co-occurring diagnosis. Today, I would like to define assistive technology, distinguish between low and high-tech options, explore ways to obtain assistive technology, and then review some examples of assistive technology for life after a brain injury. We're going to start by defining assistive technology. Assistive technology is any item, piece of equipment, or product system, whether acquired commercially, modified, or customized, that is used to increase, maintain, or improve the functional capabilities of individuals with disabilities. Assistive technology can be low-tech or high-tech, and we're going to explore that next. Examples of low-tech assistive technology are likely the items that we all use on a daily basis, but don't even consider to be assistive technology. These are devices or equipment that do not require much training, may be less expensive, and do not have any complex or mechanical features. So some examples could include pen and paper, a cane or walker, large print text, a reacher or grabber, a graphic organizer, and a visual schedule. Be more costly. So some examples of high-tech assistive technology include a computer, an electric wheelchair, recognition or magnification software, text-to-speech, electronic aids, and digital hearing aids. When choosing assistive technology devices, this can oftentimes be done without consultation. Examples could be choosing to label cabinets and drawers in the kitchen to assist a loved one with locating where items may be, or scrolling through the App Store on your phone and selecting a mindfulness app. However, on the other hand, there are times where a consultation with a professional may be necessary and helpful. These professionals may be a physical therapist, occupational therapist, speech therapist, and recreational therapist. When considering funding for assistive technology, we can look to Medicare and Medicaid. However, when specifically looking at Iowa's brain injury waiver, there is currently no funding available for assistive technology. This is something that we have researched at the Brain Injury Alliance of Iowa by looking at other states' brain injury waivers who provide funding for assistive technology. We would love to see this happen in Iowa. Private insurance may provide some funding if the device or piece of equipment is deemed necessary and prescribed by a physician. And there are also various grants and loans that can be applied for. Before purchasing a device or piece of equipment, I would encourage you to check out a lending library in the state of Iowa to try out and test that device or piece of equipment before committing to the purchase. One device may work for me, while it may not work for the next person. It's okay to try some pieces of equipment out and find the one that works best for you. So now that we've covered the basics, I would like to discuss the role assistive technology plays in life after a brain injury. We included some questions related to assistive technology in our 2020 needs assessment that was shared with individuals with a brain injury, caregivers and family members, and professionals who may serve those individuals. You can see that our first question was, do you feel your life would be made easier by assistive technology? We see that 70% of respondents said yes, while 30% said no. We followed up with those who said no by including a question to ask why assistive technology wouldn't make life easier. And those responses included the feeling that technology can be too difficult for a survivor and something that they believe would not be successfully used, a general resistance or inability to learn new technology, and it feels like a losing battle. And these are the responses that make me excited to speak with you all today. When thinking about assistive technology, I think we oftentimes consider those high-tech devices and pieces of equipment. However, assistive technology doesn't have to be daunting. And later, we're going to look at both low-tech and high-tech options for addressing common symptoms of brain injury. So we also included some questions to assess individuals' access to smart devices. And so the first question you'll see here is, do you have a smartphone? And we see that 85% of respondents said yes, while 96% of respondents have access to some sort of computer. This image comes from a resource we have here at the Brain Injury Alliance of Iowa. And it outlines some common symptoms of brain injury that include physical, cognitive, and behavioral or emotional symptoms. While this is not an exhaustive list, I have selected a few areas for us to explore opportunities for the use of assistive technology. Memory deficits are quite common following a brain injury. Here you will see some examples of low-tech assistive technology solutions to help support an individual with their memory. This list is not exhaustive, however, it's just a few ideas. So the first one you'll see is labels on drawers and cabinets. So this could be in the kitchen, the bathroom, possibly in the bedroom on the dresser. And so I'll just use the example of the kitchen. So let's say an individual is preparing a meal, maybe they made soup and they're going to look for a spoon. Well, they may not recall which drawer in the kitchen the silverware is located. So by labeling the drawers and cabinets, it can help allow that person to be more independent in that meal preparation process. Signs indicating where the bathroom, bedroom, etc. is located. So this would just be a visual cue to help the person identify which room they're about to enter, or possibly scan their surroundings to identify the room they wish to enter. Memory scrapbook, so this can be individualized, so it can be word-based and or picture-based, just something that they can refer to kind of jog some of those memories. Journal, so whether it's a notebook or a piece of paper that you're carrying around, but something easily accessible to where you can take notes throughout the day of anything that you'd like to recall at a later date or time. Planned and consumed menus, so this is helpful to refer to recall what you plan to eat, say breakfast, an afternoon snack, lunch and dinner. But then later, you may not recall either one, eating already, or two, what you had. So you can go back and look at a consumed menu. And so if I looked at my consumed menu this morning, I would see, oh, I had a rice cake and peanut butter for breakfast today at 7:30 a.m. So just a tool that can be personalized to however you see fit. A calendar, this could be a daily calendar, a weekly calendar, a monthly calendar. I know this is something that I use on a daily basis that I don't even think about anymore, but it is a compensatory tool that I use all the time. And for me personally, I have a personal calendar in one color, a work calendar in another, a volunteer calendar in another color, but it's all compiled in one so that I can easily see this is what I'm doing at this time for this area in my life. And so that's the strategy that works for me. Call log, so this could be a log of calls that you would like to make for the day or for the week, where you can write down who you want to call, maybe their phone number, why you're calling them, what you want to talk about, and an area for any notes. Or it could be a log of calls you have already made. So I know last night I gave my dad a call, and so I could refer to that later if maybe I don't recall that I called him or don't remember what we talked about. So just again, something to jog my memory. Task cards, I'll kind of use that meal preparation example again. So maybe my first card would be wash my hands. And then the second one would be review my planned menu. And then to start gathering some ingredients that I need for that recipe. So just cards that you can flip through that can help sequence through a task or activity. And then checklist. So kind of the same idea as a task card, but something where you can outline step by step what you need to do to complete a task. And, I know for some people it is very helpful to be able to physically check off a task once it's completed, so that maybe if you take a break in between, you can recall where you left off. So these are all things that should be relatively simple to kind of create within the home without having to consult a professional. Now we have some high-tech assistive technology solutions for memory. So you'll see that some of these are quite similar to some of the low-tech options, but maybe just on a smart device. So the first one we have is a calendar on a smart device. So I know I use the example of my compiled calendar, and I do that both on my phone and computer, but I also have a written planner that I use. So it's whatever works best for the individual. Alarm reminders on a smart device. This could be for waking up and starting the day. This could be throughout a task. It could be for a medication reminder. Again, whatever it's necessary for. Notes on a smart device. I know, again, I use this a lot, especially when I'm planning on going grocery shopping. I just jot some things down in the Notes app on my phone to refer to at a later time. And then there's also a to-dos app that's kind of built in on a smart device that you can use. I did include one app here. Again, it's not an exhaustive list, it's just one example. So it's called Notebook Take Notes Sync. It is available for Apple and Android for free. And so this is a pretty neat app where you can create custom notebooks. So let's say an individual goes to physical therapy, and every time they leave physical therapy, they get a summary of exercises that the physical therapist would like them to complete at home. Well, you can actually take a picture of that write-up and kind of upload it into that physical therapy notebook in the app so that you can store it and review it at a later date without having all these papers. So while you can have a physical therapy notebook, you can also have a separate notebook, let's say for your counseling sessions, where you can jot down, what you talked about. And so it gives you the option to insert text. You can record audio, you can upload images, you can create checklists. And so it's these separate notebooks that are all stored in one place, and you can do a search, which is nice, where you can't do that in a written notebook. So that's just one app as an example. Executive functioning is responsible for many skills. This includes paying attention, organizing, planning, self-monitoring, flexible thinking, impulse control, and emotional regulation. Here we see some low-tech assistive technology solutions for addressing some of these areas. So the first one we have is a daily schedule. So some individuals may benefit by having a daily schedule that's broken down hour by hour. Others may have it broken down half an hour at a time. And some people don't like as much structure. So it may just be, here's my plan for the morning, here's my plan for the afternoon, and here's my plan for the evening. So again, just kind of trying different setups and seeing what works best. Task cards, I know we mentioned these in the memory section, so same sort of idea, just something to help sequence through that task, because again, completing tasks and initiating tasks is sometimes overwhelming following a brain injury. Checklist and list, again, we mentioned these during the memory section, so same sort of idea, just having something that you can physically check off while you are sequencing through a task. So for budgeting, a budgeting tracker may be helpful. And so I know in the past with individuals, we've kind of worked together to create maybe a daily budgeting plan to help with that impulse control. So here's how much money I'm starting with at the beginning of the day, and here's how much I'm ending with, and then kind of calculating what was spent throughout the day. We also created a weekly budget, and so that the process for that, we would look at her weekly schedule and kind of see what her plans were. So for example, maybe I'm planning to get coffee with Courtney tomorrow, and I want to budget $5 for that. And so I'll put that on my planned budget, and then kind of looking at that next bullet point there leads me to the envelope system. So if I'm planning to get coffee with Courtney tomorrow on Friday, I've budgeted $5, I am going to take $5 out of my wallet, and I'm going to put it in an envelope and maybe label it, say coffee with Courtney on February 26th, so that I know that I'm saving that money for that activity. I may be tempted to spend that money if it's in my wallet when I go out of the house every day. So I'm going to store that envelope away and save it for that coffee trip with Courtney. A pros and cons list for decision making. So again, with impulse control, it may be hard for individuals to make an informed decision. So just jotting down a pros and cons list. So what are the benefits of this decision, and what may be the consequences? And does one outweigh the other? So just assisting the individual with walking through that thought process. And then step-by-step recipes. So we've all used a recipe at some point in time, and yes, this is a compensatory tool. So this could be visual, it could be picture-based, or it could be a video that you watch to sequence through the recipe, or it could just be written, maybe bulleted or numbered, but just a tool to help sequence through that recipe. So now we will move on to some high-tech assistive technology solutions for addressing executive dysfunction. So the first one we have is video or pictures of a step-by-step task completion or schedule. So one of my favorite examples is I was working with an individual who had to check her blood sugar in the morning, and she had received a new device to do so, and it wasn't familiar to her. So she would ask the staff, how do I do this? How do I do this? So to help her with becoming more independent in that task, to help manage her diabetes, we decided that we would read the written instructions quite a few times and kind of walk through it together to practice. And then once she felt comfortable enough in recalling the steps, we used the iPad that she already had to record a video. And so I would read from the instructions aloud, and she would complete the task on camera. And so that next morning when she went to go check her blood sugar, we reminded her, hey, didn't you record that video on your iPad? And so she brought the iPad with her when she was getting ready to do her morning medications. And she was able to watch that video to complete that task independently. And so actually the more time she did that, so every day she would watch that video, eventually she was able to complete that task without watching the video. So just goes to show how a little thing like that can go a long way. I do have a few apps listed here. So the first one is iHour, Habit and Skill Tracker. Again, this is available for Apple and Android for free. This app really just assists with planning and tracking your time. So you can jot down what tasks you have worked on, break it up into how much time you want to spend on a task. So just really provides some insight into how your time is being spent. Todoist, this one is Apple only but free. This one's a really great one that I have actually implemented into my daily routine. So I can enter in one large task. So for example, we have our annual conference coming up. And so that may be my large task, but there are a lot of subtasks that go along with planning a virtual conference. So it allows you to kind of break down those tasks. You can set a deadline and prioritize them. And then what's really great is you can categorize tasks. So I can color code the annual conference, and then for facilitating my support group, I can have those tasks in a different color, but then it'll all show up on the calendar in one place so that I can see all my deadlines at once. So that's a really great one. And then there's AnyList. This is a grocery shopping list app, again, available for Apple and Android free. And this app allows you to create organized grocery lists and store your recipes. You can go through and look at your recipes, identify what you need from them and don't already have on hand, and it stores them in that app. So those are apps that you can check out, but again, definitely not an exhaustive list. There are plenty of great apps out there. Following a brain injury, individuals oftentimes see multiple providers and maybe have some additional medications that are prescribed following the injury. And so this slide reviews some low-tech assistive technology solutions for managing the medical side of a brain injury. So the first one I have listed is a portable health record. And I actually used these with the individuals at my previous workplace. They were a really great tool, and I can't say enough good things about them. And so what those included was an updated list of current medications, contact information of all medical providers that the individual had seen, emergency contact information. And I think an important piece that I hear a lot from individuals is that providers don't understand their brain injury, or possibly they don't take the time to review the chart. And while it's one thing to have a brain injury listed as a diagnosis on a chart, a brain injury is going to impact each individual a little bit differently. And so I think the possibility of having a short write-up of how the brain injury affects that individual specifically would be super helpful to share with any and all providers that the individual encounters, because it's going to say a lot more than just, listing that diagnosis of a brain injury. So then that provider knows exactly which areas this individual is going to struggle with. So if you have memory on there, they're going to hopefully say, oh, maybe I should speak with a loved one, so that the loved one gets the information that we discussed following this appointment. So those are really great. Pill boxes, I'm sure we're all pretty familiar with these. These are relatively cheap if you get the standard ones, and they come in a few different formats. So the one pictured here is a monthly pill organizer that has the dates labeled, so another helpful cue for individuals. And I know, they have daily ones, weekly ones, they have larger ones if somebody maybe takes a few medications throughout the day, maybe morning, noon, afternoon, and evening. You can get a larger pill organizer. So helpful tool for individuals to manage their medications more independently. Flashcards with medications. I know, again, at my previous workplace, I worked with an individual. She wasn't quite sure what some of her medications were prescribed for. And if you don't understand the importance of your medications, it may lead to non-compliance. So we worked on creating these flashcards that had the name of the medication, what time it was taken at, what the purpose is, and what the potential side effects were. And then going along with this, we also created some alarm reminders on her phone to kind of cue her when it was time to take those medications. A journal, so kind of journaling down, maybe someone gets frequent migraines or has a lot of pain that they experience. They can journal about that experience and bring it with them to their next appointment with their doctor to discuss. Kind of similar trackers, so there are many different trackers available that you can either, one, create, or two, find on the internet and print off. So pain, seizures, migraines, sleep trackers. I know that was one that I used with a previous individual that I had worked with. He had trouble sleeping and oftentimes noticed that he was quite irritable when he got less sleep. And the sleep tracker that we found kind of looked at what time he went to bed, what he was doing before he went to bed, how much caffeine he consumed throughout the day, did he nap, did he exercise, how he felt the next morning. So again, just a tool that you can use daily to kind of provide some insight into trends, but also take back to the medical provider to share. And I know we do have a presenter, Audra, who will be speaking a lot about medical advocacy later, so stay tuned for that. On this slide, we see some high-tech assistive technology solutions for managing the medical side of a brain injury. So again, I've listed a few apps here. Mango Health, this is available on Apple and Android for free. This app allows you to schedule your medication reminders and healthy habit reminders, which I think is also important, and we oftentimes overlook those things. So just some examples of you can track water and food intake, blood glucose, blood pressure. You can record your mood. So that's a great one. Symptify, again, available on Apple and Android for free. This app guides an individual through an evaluation of the body. So it's going to assist the individual with identifying their symptoms so that they can share it with a medical professional. I know sometimes it's kind of hard to pinpoint what exactly you're feeling or where exactly it is, so this one's a good one, a guided walkthrough. Care Zone, available on Apple and Android for free. This one, you can set it up so that you receive reminders to take your medications, refill your prescriptions, and track your compliance, which is great. You can also insert your vitals, track your symptoms, and organize your provider information all in one area in the app. And Epsi, this one is again available on Apple and Android for free. It allows you to set reminders for medication and track compliance. This one is seizure-based, so it allows you to track your seizures, and you can track what kind of seizure you had, how long it lasted. There's a timer built in. You can track any triggers that may have triggered the seizure, and also symptoms afterwards. So it'll actually graph and store that information so that the next time you see your provider, you can kind of give them a rundown of what your seizures have looked like in the past few weeks or months. And then just a built-in feature on many devices is, again, setting an alarm reminder for medications. The last area I wanted to talk about was mental and physical well-being. So on this slide, we'll see some low-tech assistive technology solutions for addressing these areas. So the first one on there is Safety and Wellness Plan. This is a resource that we have here at the Brain Injury Alliance of Iowa. So if you are interested, please reach out and we can get you a copy of this tool. Essentially what this tool includes is an outline to walk the individual through identifying triggers and early warning signs to some behavioral issues, but also identifying when things are getting worse and more attention may need to be brought to the issue. And so it also will walk you through creating an action plan, and it gives you some space to list out any medications, any suggestions for how to help, and any wellness tools that the individual may have in their pocket that they can tap into. The next one is personal intervention plans. These are something that we had at my previous workplace that worked quite well. And so this included allowing the individual to identify the troubling behavior and really evaluating what does this behavior look like. And so maybe it was anger. So then the next step would be to identify any triggers. So I know that I get upset when my feet hurt. And so the next step would be assisting the individual with identifying what they can do. So if I know that when my feet hurt, I get angry, maybe I have a pain medication that I can take. I can soak my feet in Epsom salt. I can sit down and rest my feet. So those are things that I personally can do. The next area would be identifying what others can do. So I know that it's helpful for me to go on a walk sometimes just to cool off. But in that moment, if I'm already angry, I may not realize that a walk may be beneficial. So I would want Courtney to invite me on a walk, and we can just chat while we walk. And then the last part of that plan would be identifying any tools that the individual has to assist with managing that behavior. So, I know that I have a foot bath that I can use. I have Epsom salt. I can journal, whatever that looks like for the individual. So again, just a really helpful tool. And please feel free to contact me if you have any more questions on that. Self-love journal prompts. These are very powerful, I believe, and go a long way. So you can find, powerful questions on the internet. I know that I have a list of self-love journal prompts that I created with an individual. So just something when they're having a hard time with positive thinking, referring them to these journal prompts. So what do I like about myself, or what's one good thing that I did for someone today? Just a regular journal. I think we oftentimes overlook how impactful a journal can be. So this could be a healthy outlet for someone. And then again, I mentioned trackers. So trackers for stress, anxiety, depression, sleep, just again, tracking any of those behaviors, and it would provide you with some insight into any trends that may be occurring. Now we'll go ahead and review some high-tech assistive technology solutions to address mental and physical well-being. And so here I just have a list of a few apps that are available. So there's Headspace. This one is pretty common. A lot of you have probably heard of this. It's available on Apple and Android. There are free and premium versions. So this app, it's a really good mindfulness app for beginners, and it has guided audio as well as visual aspects that just guide you through some meditation exercises. There's Dailyo Journal, again, available Apple and Android for free, or there's a premium version. So this is a digital journal for tracking mood. So it gives you the option for some emojis that you can use to help identify a mood, and then also just type in some notes about why you may be feeling that way. Mindfulness Coach, this one is available on Apple and Android for free. So it helps the individual learn how to relax, take charge of anxiety, and think positively by reframing some of those negative thinking patterns that we can fall into. And the last one I have listed, but again, this is not an exhaustive list, is Sanbello for stress and anxiety. This is available on Apple and Android. There is a free version as well as a premium. So this app provides some different strategies and resources for coping with stress, anxiety, and depression. Here I have my references listed, so I encourage you to check some of these resources out. There's a lot of great stuff out there. So this concludes my presentation today. I thank you all for attending and listening, and I hope you walk away feeling less terrified of assistive technology. So I'm going to open it up for any questions or discussion. And I also have included my contact information here on this slide so that you guys can reach out with any questions, or if you are interested in any of the resources that I have shared today. So